He was supposed to grow old, to proudly walk his daughter down the aisle, to light up the stage one last time with that unforgettable smile, the one that once made all of America believe in something good. But instead, Malcolm-Jamal Warner disappeared into silence. No farewell, no spotlight, no applause. Just a silence so heavy, so endless, it felt as if even memory itself was afraid to speak his name. A symbol once tied to hope, to loyalty, to the childhoods of millions, suddenly vanished as if he had never existed at all. And then, when no one expected it, that silence was torn apart, not by accusations or tabloid headlines, but by a truth so deep, so painful, it could no longer be ignored. You can turn away, or you can stay and listen all the way to the end. If what you just heard shook you, leave a 1 in the comments if you resonate with Malcolm-Jamal Warner, or a 0 if you see it differently. This story isn't just about one man, it's about all of us who grew up with memories and are now forced to face the truth. Show your gratitude by hitting like and subscribing so you don't miss what's coming next. Don't look away from this. The story is just beginning. The story begins with a trembling voice, not that of a stranger, but of a mother, a woman who has endured years of suffering with a heart shattered by unimaginable pain. It is the sound of despair, long suppressed, now rising as a final cry for help. Alongside that voice is the image of a small USB drive, seemingly insignificant, yet holding a secret never before revealed, an important piece of evidence, a truth carefully hidden away and thought never to see the light of day. That USB is like a forgotten shard in the darkness, a silent witness waiting for the day it would be brought into the light to change everything. Then Pamela Warner appears, not as a celebrity, nor seeking praise, but standing to face the truth and her own painful past. She steps onto the stage carrying not pride, but a smoldering pain that has existed for many years. Her eyes are swollen from countless nights of silent tears, her hands trembling as if holding a lightning bolt, a power both terrifying and impossible to let go. In her hands is the USB, a piece of evidence that could overturn the entire story, bringing truth back through layers of dust cast by lies and deceit. She needs no many words for her presence, and the proof she holds speak louder than anything else, the ultimate truth she bears. Her voice catches in her throat, as if every word is a cut into a heart that has borne too much pain. Yet within that choking sorrow, her words ring out like hammer blows, striking down a wall of deceit that has stood for far too long. Every sentence, every word is a wake-up call, a living testament to the power of truth after years of being buried. And so, before the astonished eyes of the entire hall, a man once considered an untouchable icon, invincible in the public eye, is now handcuffed. That image is not an ending, but the beginning of a chapter where justice finally speaks. Today, Bill Cosby is no longer a man who can walk freely among admiring crowds. He now faces a very different kind of spotlight, not one of glory, but the cold light of truth and consequences. And then the death of Malcolm, once rumored excused and spun as an accident, suddenly no longer seems so simple. Whispers have turned into shouts, suspicions have become confirmation. The whole world fell silent as Pamela, with a voice heavy with tears, delivered the final confession. It was not just an admission, but an explosion of buried truth, a moment when time seemed to stop listening and witnessing history being rewritten with tears, pain, and courage. They heard her speak words no mother should ever be forced to say. Her voice was not screaming or angry, but chillingly calm, because the deepest pain often needs no noise. He didn't drown, she said, and the room suddenly grew cold as if a chilling wind swept through. He was drowned by power, by silence, and by the very machine designed to protect predators and bury the truth. No longer vague guesses or theories. Documents were real. Videos were real. And her pain, once dismissed as delusion, now appeared more vivid than anything else. It could no longer be denied or erased. A hidden folder, a final video containing images of unbearable anguish, and a brief but haunting note that read, "Let the water wash it away." There was no doubt this was a setup not to erase a life, but to silence the voice of truth. They thought they could wipe Malcolm out as if he were just a meaningless name on paper. Pamela continued, each word heavy like a stone. But they didn't expect that the flame would blaze from the heart of his mother. In that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, not in shock, but in recognition of one thing the system once thought untouchable, the place where powerful figures hid behind laws and money was beginning to crack. This was no longer a mere scandal. It was an indictment, a call to arms between personal pain and the invisible machine that had manipulated truth for too long. Yes, Bill Cosby had been arrested, a powerful blow against that strong wall, but this was only the opening act. The story was far from over. It had only just begun. Because Malcolm did not leave in silence. He left behind no simple farewell, no empty words or sad letters. Instead, he left a mission, a blazing call fueled by truth, and a thirst for justice. A mission so powerful that even in his absence, his truth continues to roar, echoing through every phone, every TV screen, every broadcasting device across the country. It is no longer just a personal story, but a rallying cry. No one could have anticipated this moment, the moment when a buried truth rises so fiercely that it can no longer be ignored. Outside the federal courthouse in Los Angeles, a sea of flashing cameras churned relentlessly, the glare of flashes piercing the chaotic air. Reporters jostled behind security barriers, holding microphones high, their voices drowned by the roar of the crowd. Fans once blindly faithful to an icon now wept on the streets not out of sorrow but from bitter awakening. A black SUV slowly approached the courthouse, heavy as if carrying the weight of history itself. The atmosphere thickened in expectant silence, all eyes fixed on the door, and then it opened. Bill Cosby stepped out, his face cold and emotionless, utter silence surrounding him. Flanked by federal agents with steely gazes and firm steps, leaving no room for mercy. This was not a scene from a Hollywood sci-fi movie. It was not a dream spun from imagination. It was the undeniable truth unfolding clearly and irrevocably. The whispers and rumors circulating for years, the hushed gossip, ignored posts, secret conversations were no longer scattered fragments. They had formed a portrait, a bold headline, and a reality no one could deny. No one ever thought things could go this far. No one imagined that one day Hollywood's shining glory would be pierced by a naked truth so suffocating. People only whispered, doubted, then looked away, as if pain could be forgotten if left unspoken. Until Pamela Warner stood up. A mother, a living witness, a flame ignited from loss. She did not step forward with the preparation of a lawyer or the staging of a media campaign. She simply stood there and told the world, "He killed my son." 6 words, but each one a knife cutting through the false facade of those who once sat atop power. Her voice was unpolished, uncrafted by PR experts, unmeasured for television. It was raw, trembling, but precisely because of that, impossible to ignore. It was the sound of pure pain, unprocessed, unsoftened, and thus carrying the weight of a hammer striking straight against a door long locked tight by power. Pamela was not seeking revenge. She did not stand there to nurture hatred, nor did she wish to see anyone fall under the weight of resentment. She stood there for something greater than herself, for justice. But the justice she called for was not only for Malcolm, her son, who was cruelly taken from her. It was justice for all the others' voices once silenced in glittering hallways behind closed doors beneath prestigious names and secrecy agreements that were never meant to be revealed. She fought for the unnamed souls for distorted stories and for the truth that was traded away to preserve Hollywood's perfect smiles. With courage and unconditional love, Pamela Warner transformed her pain into action, and that action changed everything. Pamela was not seeking revenge. She did not stand there to nurture hatred, nor did she wish to see anyone fall under the weight of resentment. She stood there for something greater than herself, for justice. But the justice she called for was not only for Malcolm, her son, who was cruelly taken from her. It was justice for all the others' voices once silenced in glittering hallways behind closed doors, beneath prestigious names and secrecy agreements that were never meant to be revealed. She fought for the unnamed souls, for distorted stories, and for the truth that was traded away to preserve Hollywood's perfect smiles. With courage and unconditional love, Pamela Warner transformed her pain into action, and that action changed everything. It wasn't just a fleeting unease in his voice. It wasn't the scattered, confusing words that Pamela tried to dismiss, comforting herself that it was just fatigue stress or something personal her son didn't want to share. But those words kept echoing like a recording that couldn't be turned off. "If anything happens to me, Mom, please tell the whole world I'm not lying." That was not an ordinary phrase, and Pamela knew it. She tried to ignore it, tried to go on living, but the pain never eased, never left, because deep down, she knew something was wrong. The official story, the reports, the investigations, the suspicious indifference of the authorities had from the start made a mother's heart ring alarms. Nothing was right. No one was listening. Then one bitter winter day, when the gray sky covered the town and every breath turned into white smoke, Pamela Warner went through Malcolm's old belongings, not to find anything specific, but simply to feel her son once more. The longing was always tormenting, but that day it became unbearable. She put on Malcolm's worn winter coat, the one he used to wear on cold, windy days when the world outside seemed to pause. The familiar scent still lingered like a gentle hug from her lost son. Then her hand suddenly touched something out of place. An unusual stitch inside the lining. With trembling but determined hands, Pamela carefully unraveled the stitches one by one until a small envelope slowly appeared. It was sewn in secretly, not by accident, but by design. She knew immediately this wasn't something to forget, a sign that Malcolm knew, and he had prepared for a truth no one wanted to believe. And buried deep within that archive, behind hundreds of documents, dozens of audio and video files piled one on top of another, was a folder with a name that sounded like it came straight out of a Cold War spy novel, The Dark Network. That name sent a chill down Pamela's spine from the very first second. She opened it with a tightening heart as files appeared one by one, suspiciously well organized. In every document, every internal memo, every seemingly disconnected piece of information, one name kept repeating Bill Cosby like an indelible shadow. They circled his name, highlighted it, scribbled notes in the margins, linked him to other figures, shady deals, and urgently signed NDAs. At first, Pamela couldn't piece it all together. Why would a television icon, someone once loved and respected by all America, appear so frequently in a trove full of signs of deceit, abuse, and psychological violence? Why was he connected to her son's death? Then she found the video. Not a clip from an old TV show nor a public interview. No lights, no script. Just Malcolm sitting alone in front of the camera, his face-gaunt eyes sunken, as if he hadn't slept in ages. His skin pale, his voice heavy and quiet, as if each word was dragged from the depths of his soul. "If you're watching this video," he began, "it means I didn't make it, or someone made sure I wouldn't." Pamela froze. What followed exceeded everything she had ever imagined. Malcolm spoke of a covert system, a manipulative network designed not only to cover up abuses, but also to silence and erase anyone who knew too much. A machine powered by power, money, silence, and fear. In that system, no one was too famous to be punished, but no one was too small to be spared. Then in that trembling video, Malcolm spoke words that would change everything. No special effects, no dramatic soundtrack, just a man sitting in the dark, delivering the truth as his final legacy. "They don't just silence you," he said, "they erase you. They rewrite your whole story, making people forget you ever existed." Those words were neither exaggeration nor paranoia. They were cold, clear, and cruel enough that no one cared to question what had really happened. At that moment, Pamela had no doubts left. Her knees buckled, her whole body trembling. The truth was too heavy, as if the entire world was collapsing onto her. Malcolm's death was no accident. It wasn't a peaceful vacation ending in tragedy. He had been eliminated, pushed aside like a threat that needed to be silenced forever. But now she held the proof. Not rumors, not feelings. Without hesitation for even a second, Pamela gathered everything from the USB, the dark network folder, the farewell video, the NDA contracts bank, transfers, the list of names, everything. She took it straight to the Department of Justice. She spoke clearly. She handed it over. She waited. 1 day, 2 days, then a week, then 2. Nothing. No calls, no letters, no response, only silence. A silence colder than any rejection. But Pamela did not forget. Then, on a late, quiet night, when everything seemed to have fallen into a void of despair, her phone rang. The screen showed an unknown number, no name, no clue. Just a brief message. "Watch the news." Her heart raced. Hands trembling, she turned on the TV. And at that very moment, everything changed. All TV channels simultaneously cut their regular programming to broadcast a scorching hot announcement. As if just pulled from the fire, the Department of Justice officially confirmed a federal investigation into the death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Words flashed across the screen like sharp blades slicing through the air, and the whole nation held its breath. But what made the internet explode was another name: Bill Cosby. Within minutes, that name appeared everywhere in news reports, status updates, posts, clips spreading at lightning speed. Bill Cosby officially under federal investigation related to the Warner case. This was no longer a rumor, no longer backstage whispers or conspiracy theories. Now it was the truth sealed by the most powerful authority in the country. Within 72 minutes after the official announcement, Bill Cosby was arrested. A fall impossible to ignore, from the pinnacle of fame to the depths of public disgrace. He was escorted out of his sanctuary, surrounded by federal agents, his face, stiff eyes empty, not a single word spoken. At the other end of this event, in an ordinary living room like many others, Pamela Warner sat silently in front of the TV screen. No one beside her. No cheers, no celebratory drinks, not even a victory speech. Just her hands clasped tightly, tear-filled eyes, and silent tears falling not out of hatred, but because her pain was finally acknowledged. She no longer needed anyone to believe her. No further words were necessary. The truth had spoken for itself. Outside the courthouse that night, hundreds gathered not to witness the fall of an old icon, but to stand for a new one. They lit candles not to illuminate justice, but to bid farewell to someone who had long been lost in the shadows of silence. Portraits of Malcolm were printed on paper, painted on walls, posted on banners, as if to say, "We do not forget." No organizer gave orders. No spokesperson spoke the crowd. Itself was the voice of a generation that had waited too long for the truth to be told. Among hundreds of raised signs, one stood out, the most: white background, black letters, rough but like a punch to the gut, impossible to ignore. He drowned. Not in water, but in power, in silence, in organized oblivion. The footage from the USB began leaking and quickly spread everywhere. Short clips from Malcolm's final video were shared rapidly across social media, capturing widespread public attention. Along with this, a wave of witnesses started to come forward, people who had worked with Malcolm, from former studio employees to legal assistants and even a late-night show producer. Everyone united in exposing the incidents and the secrets that had been hidden for so long. A leaked voicemail sent shockwaves across the entire country, and no one could turn a blind eye. She stood strong against every storm, and her determination drew all eyes onto her. Every headline bore her name, every interview quoted her words, and every statement she made became a powerful call for unity. Pamela was not just a mother who lost her son. She was the first to speak out, the first to confront the silence and cover-ups. Malcolm didn't just die, he was erased from all memory and recognition. But Pamela, with her own strength, vowed not to let the world forget the truth. She would not stop until justice was served, until everyone knew who caused this pain. She transformed her grief into power, and her fight had only just begun. And now the whole world was listening. Hollywood's machine, once a tool wielded with power and influence to silence victims, was now cornered by the very sins it had nurtured over the years. The dark secrets Hollywood had tried to hide were now exposed, forcing everyone to confront an undeniable truth. At the heart of this storm, the man once hailed as the father of America was no longer a revered figure, but was now linked to a darker, more sinister name, one filled with guilt. A name that had once been a symbol of pride had become a symbol of cruelty, manipulation, and disgrace of the very values it once represented. Meanwhile, Bill Cosby's legal team was falling into chaos, unable to offer convincing defenses or soothe the public's outrage. Every attempt to protect him became meaningless, as the truth could no longer be concealed. Even the public relations firms, once skilled at manipulating information, could not stem the tide of anger. They resorted only to cutting off reporters and trying to shut down unwanted interviews. Senior executives who once wielded ultimate power in the industry now hid in silence, as if desperately trying to avoid the storm they themselves had unleashed. Social media accounts were wiped out overnight, as if all traces and truths needed to be buried. But it was far too late. The files, the irrefutable evidence had been exposed, and the truth could no longer be imprisoned. The very system that had once sheltered and protected predators was now being completely dismantled. And all because of one thing: an unyielding mother's boundless love. They thought they could kill the message by killing the messenger, but Pamela Warner proved them wrong. She not only kept the message alive, but also ignited a blaze that would burn down the entire empire of lies they had built over the years. If you believe that not even the system can bury the truth forever, share this video. Hit like to stand with the truth, leave a comment to let Pamela know she's not fighting alone, and subscribe, because this is only the beginning. Bill Cosby was now behind bars, but Malcolm's story was only just beginning to unfold. What had happened to Malcolm was just the beginning. A far wider, deeper exposure awaited. They had thought Pamela Warner would fade with time, that the noise would die down and become just a flicker spreading for a few days before fading out. But Pamela was not a spark easily extinguished. She was the one who lit the fire, and that fire would never go out until all the truth was revealed. This was not noise, it was the awakening of an entire generation, and they would not stop until justice was served. Inside the USB lay an unimaginable secret. 5 cold words appeared like a warning in case something happens to me. Pamela's hands trembled as she plugged the USB into the computer, and the files opened like a storm assaulting her mind. Her whole world seemed to collapse before her eyes. It was not just a data archive, but a nightmare vault containing classified memos, call logs, secret recordings, electronic transfers, and non-disclosure agreements signed by the most powerful names in the industry. Every page, every line was irrefutable proof. And amid all those documents, one folder especially caught Pamela's attention. The name of the folder made her startle. Dark network. In every document, every note, every stream of information, that name kept repeating like a haunting ghost. Bill Cosby. At first, Pamela couldn't piece them together, the fragments scattered like shards of a broken mirror. But she knew one thing: this was the key. And the truth about Bill Cosby was gradually being revealed through these very documents. A rising sense of dread overwhelmed her as she realized that what she was about to face was not just a personal battle, but a much larger fight, a fight for justice. Why would a television legend, once beloved by millions of viewers, suddenly be implicated in the death of her own son? That question haunted her for weeks after the tragedy struck. Everything seemed like just an accident or a heartbreaking personal incident until she discovered that video not part of any TV show nor an aired interview. It was a private recording, dark and full of hidden meanings. In the blurry frame, Malcolm was alone, his face gaunt, his pale skin eerily ghost-like, his eyes deep and heavy with exhaustion and confusion. His voice was low and weighed down as if each word drained more strength from him. "If you are watching this video, it means I didn't make it," he said without blinking. "Or someone arranged for me not to make it." He began to tell of an underground system, a network operating in the shadows, like an invisible machine, powerful and ruthless. It was not merely a structure designed to hide abuse, as is often heard in media scandals, but a mechanism crafted to silence and eliminate anyone who dared to know too much truth. According to Malcolm, the existence of this system was no fantasy or exaggeration. It was something he had directly experienced, the reason he lived in constant fear. The video ended abruptly, leaving a terrifying void. From that moment, the mother was no longer just a famous figure. She became the sole person holding the evidence of a horrifying truth, a conspiracy far greater than anything she had ever imagined. And then he spoke words that would change everything. Words powerful enough not only to silence people, but also to erase a person, an identity, a life. "They won't argue with you." Malcolm's voice echoed hoarse and slow, as if revealing a secret too heavy to bear. "They just rewrite your story so clearly and coherently that no one cares about what really happened." It was the calmness in his words that sent chills down Pamela's spine. No tears, no drama, just a brutal truth presented as if it were ordinary fact. When the video ended, Pamela collapsed to her knees. The weight of what she had just witnessed felt like the entire world was crashing down on her. In that moment, she no longer doubted her son's death was not an accident, not a mere stroke of bad luck. Malcolm had been eliminated deliberately, systematically, by the cold machinery he had warned about. Without hesitation, without letting fear take hold, Pamela gathered everything: the USB containing Malcolm's final video, carefully hidden files, audio recordings with Malcolm's voice, naming names, organizations, and conspiracies never before revealed. She took it all straight to the Department of Justice openly, without anonymity or evasion. Deep down, she believed that once the truth was exposed, everything would change. But weeks passed with nothing. No return calls, no confirmation, not even a single message. Only silence, a silence more terrifying than rejection. Pamela began to suspect, had the evidence been blocked? Were those she trusted also part of the system? Then late one night, just as she was about to give up hope, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. No call, just a brief message: watch the news. Every TV channel, news outlet, and social network simultaneously broadcast the same explosive announcement, sending the community into a frenzy. The Department of Justice officially confirmed a federal investigation into the mysterious death of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. But what truly ignited public outrage was a shocking headline sweeping the internet: Bill Cosby, once a television icon, was now officially under federal investigation connected directly to Warner's case. The news spread like wildfire, with every eye fixed on the unfolding developments. Within 48 hours, a federal arrest warrant was issued, and less than 72 minutes later, Bill Cosby was taken into custody, brought into the light of justice. Pamela sat quietly in her living room, eyes fixed on the TV screen. No cheers or victory speeches, only silent tears streaming down her cheeks. Outside the courthouse, a crowd of supporters gathered, lighting shimmering candles, holding up posters calling for justice, and painting meaningful murals as if to etch undeniable truths into the collective memory. Among these images, a sign stood out like a powerful punch to the hearts of everyone following the case: he didn't drown. He was killed. This statement was not just a declaration, but a profound condemnation of the truth that had been hidden for many years. The crowd bowed their heads in silent remembrance while sending a strong message: justice will never be extinguished, no matter how many years pass. Pamela, with a troubled heart, knew this was only the beginning of her journey to seek truth and justice for her son, but at least finally she was not alone on that path. The footage stored on the secret USB gradually leaked out like a small flame, sparking and spreading uncontrollably across social media and online forums. Short, blurry, yet powerful clips from Malcolm's final video were quickly shared, attracting millions of views and comments. Alongside this, a wave of whistleblowers began to emerge, from former studio employees, legal assistants, to people within the television industry who had worked closely with Malcolm. They successively revealed dark stories behind the glamour that had long been concealed. Even a famous late-night show producer spoke out, confirming the existence of a hidden power network that manipulated and silenced every dissenting voice in the industry. What sent chills through the entire nation was a leaked voicemail that spread rapidly and shocked public opinion. In the recording, a deep, cold, authoritative voice clearly warned, "We have been instructed not to touch his footage. That footage must disappear without a trace." These words were not just orders, but an implicit threat to anyone daring to expose the truth. The message served as a chilling warning about the power behind the scenes, instilling both fear and an unprecedented determination in people fighting for justice for Malcolm. This leak not only shook the television industry, but also marked a crucial turning point, opening a new front in the battle between truth and silencing. But he knew he was not alone. Malcolm held irrefutable evidence and was preparing to reveal these shocking truths to the world. Pamela Warner was no longer just a grieving mother. She had become a symbol, the face of a powerful justice movement. Every headline bore her name, every interview quoted her resolute words, and each statement became a call for unity, inspiring millions to stand by her side. She told everyone he was not only killed, he was systematically erased. "I will not stop until the world knows who did this." Those words echoed in the minds of listeners, making it impossible for the public to ignore the case any longer. The whole world was now listening as Hollywood's power machine, once accused of silencing and erasing victims, found itself surrounded by outrage and demands for transparency. At the eye of this storm was the man once hailed as the father of America on the small screen, now being called by a far darker, more terrifying name. Bill Cosby's legal team was thrown into chaos, with every legal strategy seeming to crumble under the pressure of public opinion. Powerful public relations firms that once held sway could no longer control the situation, repeatedly cutting off reporters' questions during tense press conferences. A string of top executives suddenly vanished into the shadows, leaving unanswered questions, and a suffocating atmosphere engulfing an entertainment industry that was once glorious. Social media accounts related to the case were wiped out overnight, as if someone wanted to erase every trace of the emerging truth. But it was too late to stop the raging tsunami. The files, the undeniable evidence, had been exposed to the public, revealing the truth more clearly than ever before. The underground system that had sheltered and protected predators for so many years was completely destroyed, not by the power of law or media influence, but simply by the boundless love and unyielding will of one mother, Pamela Warner. They thought they could extinguish the flame of justice by killing the messenger, but Pamela not only kept the message alive, she ignited a larger fire, a revolution that would burn down the entire empire of lies they had built. Bill Cosby now faces imprisonment, but Malcolm's story is only just beginning to unfold. Deep secrets, truths never before revealed, are gradually coming to light, captivating both the media and the public. They had once expected Pamela Warner to fade away with time, that the noise and attention would subside, that this was just a small spark, a brief wave that would disappear. But no, this is not fleeting noise, but the resounding echo of a revolution, a powerful and irreversible wave of change. Pamela has become a symbol, the pioneer of a long battle, not only for her son, but for all those who have been oppressed, silenced by lies and silence. And the world is starting to awaken. And Malcolm, with sharp intelligence and unwavering determination, infiltrated that underground system. He didn't just break in. He mapped every movement, every hidden connection inside that power machine. Every secret, every manipulation, every concealed plan was traced by him with astonishing precision. Malcolm was ready like a soldier standing before the final battle, prepared to bring down the entire cruel system no one had dared to touch. He had planned to reveal everything so the world would know the truth behind the glittering curtain. But before Malcolm could take his final step, someone came for him first, a silent but dangerous adversary with unpredictable conspiracies of their own. Not stopping there, a second leak occurred, not from the Department of Justice or outside sources, but from within the very system Malcolm sought to expose. One of the powerful networks Malcolm named in his files suddenly received an unmarked package sent anonymously. The package carried a cryptic, threatening message, a cold warning that every move Malcolm made was being closely monitored. His safety was no longer guaranteed, and the battle against the shadowy forces had entered a new perilous chapter. This network of power not only knew about Malcolm's existence, but was ready to strike back, revealing that the enemy he faced was not strangers, but monstrous figures wielding influence in the dark, willing to do anything to protect their secrets. There was no return address, no clues to trace the sender. The mysterious package contained only a small, simple hard drive, but inside it hid a secret that sent chills down Pamela's spine. When she opened it, she found a single folder labeled "Buried a Challenge to anyone daring enough to dig deeper." What Pamela discovered inside was more horrifying than she had imagined. A series of email exchanges, detailed notes, and a cold, calculated risk assessment drafted by Bill Cosby's former public relations firm, all showing systematic preparation to counter any threat emerging from the Warner case. Among those documents, one stood out so starkly it left Pamela speechless. It was a corporate mechanical memo outlining a chilling strategy. If Warner publishes any documents, immediately activate the mitigation protocol. The following steps were listed in precise detail: monitoring all activities, controlling information flow, and if necessary, using any means to eliminate the impact of the truth. Pamela realized this was not merely a PR battle. It was a ruthless, sophisticated campaign to protect a power empire at all costs. From those pages, she understood that the path to justice was fraught with traps and dangers far beyond anything she had ever imagined. If extracting data from the hard drive failed, a meticulously prepared backup plan was ready, and once again, everything led back to the same source. This backup wasn't a hasty or makeshift plan, but a clean meeting room code reserved only for insiders containing something deadly. Pamela sat in a daze, reading the code over and over 17 times in total, her heart tightening as she clutched her son's sweatshirt, seeking any remaining warmth. Her voice whispered through tears full of anguish. They planned this. Oh God. They planned everything right from inside the courtroom. A suffocating mix of guilt and helplessness overwhelmed her as she realized that not only had her son's life been cruelly taken, but the pursuit of truth was also trapped in a web of intricate and malicious schemes. Meanwhile, Bill Cosby's legal team relentlessly tried to cover up the leaks by dismissing all evidence as fabricated, calling the files fake, and accusing Pamela, a grieving mother, of orchestrating a smear campaign. They claimed the recordings and documents were doctored, aiming to discredit Pamela and deny the serious allegations. But then an undeniable recording surfaced, shattering all their arguments completely. Unaware that his microphone was still on, Malcolm had inadvertently recorded his heavy breathing and whispered words to himself as he paced the room. They say, I have a choice. Stay silent and live, or speak up, and we'll have to face it. Those words echoed as a call for courage, a painful reminder of the choice between truth and silence, leaving listeners choked with emotion and awakened to the relentless fight Malcolm and Pamela faced. Then from the recording came a short broken laugh, like something from deep inside Malcolm's soul. His voice no longer carried fear, but the exhaustion of someone who had endured too long. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm just tired. But I won't be there. Silent. And then nothing. Those words stood as a defiant declaration, a mournful sigh from a man standing on the edge of truth and death. Refusing to let emotions be stifled, Pamela decided to share the clip on social media, accompanied by a single powerful caption, "My son didn't drown. He was drowned by silence, by money, by monsters." The statement quickly went viral, shaking the nation to its core. The public's reaction was immediate and unprecedentedly powerful. The entire nation seemed gripped by a media storm, with outrage and a thirst for justice flooding every corner. Under immense public pressure, senators united in calling for a comprehensive congressional investigation into the case. The walls were closing not only around Bill Cosby, but tightening around the entire network of power shielding him. A special prosecutor was appointed to handle the case, major television networks competed to conduct internal investigations, unveiling previously hidden dark corners. Federal prosecutors also confirmed that Cosby's arrest was just the beginning of a series of strong legal actions to come. Yet Pamela Warner, despite this significant breakthrough, had no intention of stopping. She knew this was only the start of a long and arduous battle to reclaim the truth for her son and for all those who had been silenced. Pamela still held a final card, an invaluable gift left by her son before departing this world, a letter written by Malcolm's own hand. Those words echoed from the past, resonating deeply within her heart. "If you're reading this, Mom, it means I didn't make it. But that's okay, because I know you will fight, and I know the truth will live on after me. I love you. Don't let them erase me." That letter was not just a message, but a guiding light through the thorny path ahead for Pamela. She carried that paper everywhere, from press conferences to courtrooms, even as it grew worn, crumpled from countless folds and stained yellow by bitter tears. Yet the power of that letter never faded. Every word fueled her strength on the challenging journey to seek justice. Now, in a world where Bill Cosby once dominated television screens and the trust of millions of viewers, the photo capturing the moment of his arrest has become the most shared image across social media and news outlets. The image of the America's dad has completely vanished, replaced by that of a prisoner bearing the number XXX, sitting behind bars facing a wall of overwhelming charges. But the worst thing for him is not the loss of freedom, but the truth. The truth that Bill Cosby spent decades burying beneath layers of heavy silence and intricate lies. And ultimately, it was that very truth that brought down the false empire he built, leaving a costly lesson about the unconquerable power of persistence, justice, and undying maternal love. Malcolm was no longer alive to witness this day. Yet every document he collected, every video recording of evidence, and all the clues he left behind played a crucial role in turning the impossible into a visible reality. What he left was not merely materials, but a vivid testament to perseverance, courage, and unwavering determination to confront the darkness of truth. Though no longer here, Malcolm continues to accompany and inspire those fighting for justice. In the end, he was not just an ordinary actor, but a brave whistleblower, someone willing to stand up and speak the truth, despite the dangers. He was a son unafraid to face the darkness head-on, refusing to close his eyes to injustice. The mother who gave him life also became the powerful voice he could never have had while alive. Thanks to her love and sacrifice, Malcolm's voice still echoes and continues to spread in this world. This is not just a scandal. This is a revolution. It is the first crack on the foundation of an entire silent industry. And it is a reminder that you can kill the messenger, but you will never kill the message. The courtroom that day was filled with an unusual silence, not the kind of silence that brings peace, but a silence so heavy on your chest that you can barely breathe. If what you just watched left you shaken, hit the like button to show that you heard and that you didn't look away. Leave a 1 in the comments if you feel connected to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, or a 0 if you see it differently. Subscribe so you don't miss any more truths they're trying to bury, and turn on the notification bell because what's coming might be even darker than this. They think they can silence the message, but now you carry it. Make them hear it. Because Malcolm didn't leave behind a goodbye. He left behind a mission, and now it's yours. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.